All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
In the island of Hawaii, you meet people of every ethnic group and of diverse religious beliefs, living together harmoniously, peacefully, and enjoying the sunshine of God's love. I've visited all these islands many times. The native who drove me from the airport to Maui Hilton Hotel told me that his antecedents were a mixture of Irish, Portuguese, German, Japanese, and Chinese. He pointed out that the people here have intermarried for generations, but racial problems are known. One of the chief reasons some men and women do not get ahead in life is their inability to get along with others. But the trouble really is within themselves. They can't get along with themselves. They're frustrated. They're quarreling inside their own mind. They fail to realize their dreams and aspirations. They project their animosity and their frustration onto others. Now, you tell a man how to realize his desires and dreams and aspirations. Say God gave you that desire to be grander and greater than you are. For life is progression. Life is an endless unfoldment towards the real. The spirit within you is forever saying to you, rise, transcend, and grow. The murmurings, the whisperings of our heartstrings are always life-ward. Then you say, Infinite Spirit, which gave me this desire, reveal the perfect plan for its unfoldment in divine law and divine order. And nourish it and sustain it, and the door will open up for you. But a man not knowing the laws of mind and how to achieve his goals in life becomes frustrated and bottled up inside himself. Millions of people rub others the wrong way. Oftentimes their attitude of pomposity is tactless and offensive. The best way to get along with others is to salute the divinity in the other person and to realize that every man and woman is an epitome or example of the entire human race. The divinity is in every man, for all men are God made manifest. There's only one being, called no man on earth your father. There's one which is your Father, which is in heaven. And the Father is the life principle, the common progenitor, the Father of all. So all religions in the world say our Father. So we're all intimately related. Therefore, to hurt another is to hurt myself. Perhaps in my stupidity I don't know it, but nevertheless it's absolutely true. If you wish the other fellow will fail, well, you're thinking of failure, aren't you? Your thought is creative and you'll fail. Maybe he believes in prosperity and success, and he prospers like the green bay tree. But you're the dope. You're the one who's suffering. Every person who walks the earth is a son or daughter of the infinite intelligence and presence and power. There's only one power. When we respect and honor the divinity within ourselves, we will automatically reveal and honor and revere and honor the divinity in the other person. But you see, love thy neighbor as thyself. People are confused about that. They say, how can I love that fella next door? He beats his wife, he comes home drunk, he's mean to the children. It has nothing at all to do with it, not a thing in the world. The self of you is God, the higher self. Love in the Bible is not a sentiment, it's not an emotion. All it means is that you have a healthy, reverent, wholesome respect for the divinity which created you, which started your heartbeat, which grows the hair in your head, which gave you the whole world when you were born. It's all here, you know. And the sunshine was here and the air. God gave you richly all things to enjoy. Now, if you don't have a reverent, wholesome respect for the divinity, how in the name of heavens can you respect the divinity of anybody else? You can't. But when you honor this divinity that watches over you, when you're sound asleep, governs your breathing and your heartbeat, circulation of your blood, and your metabolism and all phases of your life, when you respect that and answers your prayer too, then when you respect and honor that, you'll automatically respect it in the other. But if you don't respect it in yourself, you can't honor it in the other. That's why a man can't love his wife or his son or daughter or anybody except he first loves himself. for the self of him is God. God is the living spirit which created him. And love is to give your allegiance and loyalty to the one power. If you're respecting other powers, or giving power to the stars, the sun or the moon, or the weather, or the strawberries, or the fan or something, then you're giving allegiance to the created thing, not to the Creator. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. Jealous in the sense that you mustn't know another. The power is one and indivisible, moves as unity and harmony. Nothing to oppose it or thwart it or vitiate it. Therefore you give recognition, honor, allegiance to the one power. Then you're loving God in the biblical sense. Then all things are added to you. Then you don't place another person on a pedestal and say, well, look, this person can block my good. Then you're unjust to yourself. While visiting one of the chain of hotels in district of Maui, I had an interesting conversation with the waiter. He told me that every year an eccentric millionaire from the mainland visited the hotel. This visitor proved to be a miserly type who hated to give a waiter or a bellboy a tip. He was churlish, ill-mannered, rude, and just plain ordinary. Nothing satisfied him. He was constantly complaining about the food and the service, and he snarled at the waiter whenever he served him. This waiter said to me, I realized he was a sick man, or kahuna. A kahuna is a native Hawaiian priest. Says that when men are like that, there's something eating them inside. So I decided to kill him with kindness. This waiter consistently treated this man with courtesy, kindness, respect, silently affirming, God loves him and cares for him. I see God in him and he sees God in me. He practiced this technique for about a month, at the end of which time this eccentric millionaire for the first time said, Good morning, Tony. How's the weather? You're the best waiter I have ever had. Tony told me, I almost fainted. I expected a growl, and I got a compliment. He gave me a $500 bill. This was a parting tip from this difficult guest, who at the same time arranged for Tony to be made an assistant manager eventually of a large hotel in Honolulu, in which he was financially interested. And a word spoken in due season, how good is it? In the book of Proverbs, 15th chapter. A word is a thought expressed. This waiter's words, thoughts, were addressed to the soul, subconscious mind, of the cranky, cantankerous guest. They gradually melted the ice in his heart. He responded in love and kindness. Tony proved that seeing the presence of God in the other and adhering to that great eternal truth pays fabulous dividends in human relations, spiritually as well as materially. There is an old aphoristic statement containing a profound truth. I had an interesting conversation with a social director in one of the hotels in Maui. She pointed out that occasionally when she says to a guest, it's a wonderful day, the guest says, what's good about it? I hate the weather here. I don't like anything about this place. She added that she knew that particular guest was emotionally disturbed and driven by some irrational emotion. She had studied psychology at the University of Hawaii in Honolulu, and remembered that her teacher had pointed out to her that one does not get upset or resentful toward a person who is a hunchback, for example, or who suffers from any other obvious congenital deformity. You may have compassion for the person. Maybe he was kicked by a horse. Maybe he was born that way. Likewise, one should not be disturbed because some people are emotional hunchbacks and have twisted and disturbed and warped mentalities. One should have compassion for them. Understanding their mental and emotional chaotic state, it is easy to overlook and forgive them. This young lady is gracious, charming, affable, and amiable, and apparently nobody can ruffle her feathers. She has built up a sort of divine immunity, and she fully realizes that no one can hurt her but herself. That is to say, she has freedom, as anybody has, to bless the other person or to resent the other person. She has decided to bless. She knows very well that the only one able to hurt her is she herself. That is, the movement of her own thought, which is under her complete control. The suggestions, statements, actions of other people have no power to disturb you. It's the movement of your own thought. Oh, yes, it is. And you can curse or bless. You can say, God is guiding me now, His peace fills my soul. Or you can say, he's a skunk, or she's a skunk, as the case may be. The anger is generated by yourself. You are the boss. You are in control. The other person has no power to disturb you. A young musician who plays a stringed instrument at night to pay his way through the University of Hawaii, where he's studying law, told me that he had experienced friction with some of his teachers, that his memory had failed him during the oral and written examination. This young man was tense and resentful. I explained to him that his subconscious mind contained a perfect memory of everything he had read and heard, but that when his conscious mind is tense, the wisdom of the subconscious does not rise to the surface mind. Accordingly, he prayed as follows every night and morning: Infinite intelligence in my subconscious mind reveals to me everything I need to know, and I am divinely guided in my studies. I radiate love and goodwill to my teachers, and I am at peace with them. I pass all examinations in divine order. Now he's writing that down with his conscious pen into his subconscious mind. And whatever you write down in your subconscious will come to pass in divine order. That's the way you learn to walk, to swim, to dance, to drive a car. You repeated a thought pattern and act again and again and again and again. After a while, you said it's second nature. What is second nature? Second nature is the response of your subconscious mind to your conscious thinking and acting. Of course it's automatic. It's compulsive. That's called prayer. Most people don't even know what prayer is. 3 weeks went by, and I received a letter from this man saying he had passed a special examination with flying colors, that his relationship with his teachers is now excellent. He succeeded in incorporating the idea of perfect memory for everything he needed to know into his subconscious mind by reiterating the affirmations I gave him. His emanation of love and goodwill was subconsciously picked up by his teachers, resulting in harmonious human relationship. There's a crater, it's called Haleakala. Once it was a fiery, gaping depression. It is now a cool, cone-studded aftermath of a violent volcano. I was with a group of people, some of whom were from some such widely diverse localities as Denver, Pittsburgh, Stockholm, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand. I sat next to an Australian doctor and his wife in the limousine. He told me that volcanic eruptions causing havoc, similar to the results of the volcanic activity at which we were looking, had taken place in his own life because he was in the habit of judging people too harshly. The gist of his conversation was that he used to boil over with rage at what columnists wrote in the newspaper. He wrote poisonous, vindictive, and vitriolic letters to members of Parliament, to heads of the various unions. This internal seething and turmoil brought on 2 physical eruptions in 2 severe cardiac attacks, plus 1 volcanic eruption in the form of a mild stroke. He recovered from these attacks and realized that he had brought them on himself. While in the hospital, a nurse gave him the 23rd and 91st Psalms to read, saying, "Doctor, this is wonderful medicine." He began to dwell upon the 23rd Psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Goodness and mercy follows me all the days of my life, because I dwell in the house of God forever. And I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, thy power, and thy staff, they comfort me." And he began to dwell upon the inner meaning of the 91st Psalm. "I dwell in the secret place. I abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He's my refuge, my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. He covers me with His feathers, and under His wings shall you rest." All right. It's impossible to dwell upon these great eternal truths, which have stood the test of time for thousands of years, and not get a peaceful mind. Because, you see, people down through the ages of all religious beliefs have used these Psalms in cases of shipwreck, in fire, emergencies, so-called incurable diseases, in all manner of trouble. And these Psalms have protected them. And these are written in the universal subjective mind called in Hinduism the Akashic Record. And therefore, as you use these Psalms, even though you don't understand the inner meaning of it, far more wonderful if you did, but even though you don't, and you're using these Psalms, you're tapping the survival technique, the experiences, and the healings of others down through the ages. And you get a response, and marvelous results follow. So he discovered there was such a thing as spiritual medicine goes in through your eyes and your ears. For a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, and a broken spirit drieth the bones. So he began to dwell on these Psalms. Gradually their meaning sank into his soul. He pointed out that he had long since learned to adjust to people, realizing that they're all conditioned differently, and that this is a world of imperfect human beings striving towards perfection. This doctor had learned to be true, as he said, to the God-self within him, and to respect the divinity in the other. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true, then it follows, as the night the day, thou canst not be false to any man." This doctor had learned that to understand all is to forgive all. He is still intolerant of false ideas, but not people. He remains true to the truths of God and eternal principles. A man with whom I went swimming in the ocean adjacent to the beautiful and majestic Maui Hilton Hotel said to me, "I'm here to get away from it all." He began to criticize everybody in his organization, as well as the government. He even seemed to have a grudge against the infinite. In fact, he told me he felt he would get along better if God would just let him alone. Have you ever heard that one? He asked me, "What can I do to have better human relations, get along with these ugly, nasty people?" I suggested to him that research has demonstrated that much of the difficulty many people have in human relations is that they don't look within themselves for the cause. That's where it is, in most instances. The first step would be to get along with his own difficult self. I pointed out to him that much of his trouble with his employees and associates came from himself primarily, and that these other people might be called secondary causes. He admitted he was full of hidden rage and hostility, was deeply frustrated in his ambitions and plans in life. He began to see, however, that his suppressed rage kindled the latent hostility or anger in those around him, and he suffered from their reactions, which he himself had engendered. He discovered that what he termed the animosity and hostility of his associates and employees reflected his own hostility and frustration to a great extent. I gave him a spiritual prescription which he was to follow regularly and systematically. I know there is a law of cause and effect, and the mood which I generate is returned to me in the reactions of people to me and in conditions and events. I realize my inner turmoil and anger sets off ugliness and anger in men and women and also animals. I know that no matter what I experience, it must have an affinity in my mind, conscious or unconscious. For as I think and feel, so am I, and so do I express, experience, and behave. I give myself this mental and spiritual medicine many times a day. I think, speak, and act from the divine center within me. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill to all those around me and to all people everywhere. This infinite being lies stretched in smiling repose within me. Peace is the power at the heart of God, and His river of peace floods my mind, my heart, and my whole being. I am one with the infinite peace of God. My mind is a part of the infinite mind. What's true of the infinite is true of me. I realize and know that no person, place, or thing in the whole world has the power to upset, annoy, or disturb me without my mental consent. My thought is creative, and I consciously and knowingly reject all negative thoughts and suggestions, affirming that the infinite intelligence is my guide, my counselor, my governor, and that this wisdom watches over me. I know infinite intelligence is my real employer, and I am working for this presence and power which animates and sustains me. The real self of me is God, which is the living spirit within me. It cannot be hurt, vitiated, or thwarted. I realize I am the one who has hurt myself the most by my self-criticism, self-condemnation, self-denigration. I send kindness, love, and joy to all people, and I know goodness, truth, and beauty follow me all the days of my life, for I live in the house of the infinite forever. 3 weeks transpired, and he wrote me saying that practicing this phase of mental and spiritual laws had replaced his inner chaotic, seething cauldron state of mind with serenity, tranquility, and a sense of imperturbability. For peace, you know, you're told, is the power at the heart of God. The infinite, as Emerson says, lies stretched in smiling repose. The finite alone hath wrought and suffered. The finite is your own conscious mind, where all the trouble is. But in the depths of yourself is absolute bliss and absolute harmony. A submarine commander will tell you if he goes down far enough in the ocean, there's absolute bliss, absolute harmony. There's no noise or confusion of any kind. The same is true in the depths of ourselves. I had an interesting conversation with a Japanese businessman who philosophized along these lines. I have been in business 50 years and have traveled extensively. I have learned that people are basically good and honest. I take people as they come. They are all different. They have had different training and conditioning. They have different customs and religious beliefs. They are the result of their training, education, habitual thinking. I know complaining about these people and getting angry with customers won't change them. I don't let them disturb me. I refuse to let anybody get under my skin. I bless them all and I walk on. He showed me a list of 10 customers who owed him considerable sums of money, who had ignored several bills. He said, I have been praying for each one, morning and night, realizing that the infinite presence and power is prospering them in all ways, and that infinite intelligence guides and directs and multiplies their good. I pray that each pays his bill gladly, that they are honest, sincere, and blessed in all their ways. I started a month ago doing this. 8 of them have paid, apologizing for the delay. There are 2 to go, but I know they will pay too. He discovered that when he changed his mental attitude towards the delinquent customers, they changed also. Treat people with respect. Honor and salute the divinity in the other person. It's within everyone. Maybe he's a cutthroat, a murderer, but nevertheless, the divine presence is there. He may not be using it, maybe dormant, maybe asleep, but nevertheless it's there. It's there in your husband, it's there in your wife, your son, your daughter, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law. The divinity is there. It shapes our ends, rough hew it how we will. So you honor that. You give respect to that. Radiate love and goodwill to all. It costs nothing. It pays fabulous dividends. Realize that nobody acts in a contentious, hostile, antagonistic, and surly manner who's well-adjusted. The maladjusted people are always attracting maladjusted people. Inharmonious people are always attracting inharmonious associates. Of course they are. Like attracts like, birds of a feather flock together. No, there's a mental conflict somewhere when people are antagonistic and contentious. The Kahuna says there is something eating them inside. There's a jumping being, bean. They jump. The worm is inside the bean. And when it's heated, it jumps, doesn't it? It's called the jumping bean. Well, likewise, there's the jumping bean within many people. They're prejudiced. Prejudice is prejudgment. They've judged before they know anything at all about it. Some people are prejudiced toward Jews and Catholics and Protestants and politicians and certain political movements and so forth. They know nothing at all about it. It's prejudgment. And you ask them, say, well, what do these people believe in? They don't know. They're prejudgment, they're prejudiced, you see. That's a sickness of the mind. There's a psychic pain somewhere. God is the true self of you. It can't be hurt, thwarted or vitiated in any way. If you find difficult people in your life, surrender them to the infinite, declare your freedom in the infinite, and say, I surrender them to the infinite, and this infinite presence and power takes them out of my life in divine law, in divine order, through divine love. And the same presence and power takes me up. Of their life in divine law and divine order through divine love, and it will be as if the earth swallowed them up. You will find yourself in green pastures and still waters, for he leadeth me beside the green pastures, he restoreth my soul. There is this marvelous presence and power within all of us, and we meet people in the office. We meet them everywhere, don't we? Whether the office, the home, the factory, or when you travel, you meet people all over the world. We must learn to get along with them. There are 4 billion people in the world today, and the population is increasing every day. The hermit, the cave dweller, the recluse can't escape contact with other human beings, because he has a mind too. There's one mind common to all individual men. You can't run away from yourself. So they carried their mind with them wherever they go. And all of us are immersed in the mass mind, called the law of averages. It is no use to run off to Boston saying to yourself, there are nicer people in Boston. Remember, you carry your mind and your disposition with you. And if you have a nasty and ugly disposition, you'll attract ugly people there, for like attracts like. You'll attract them wherever you go. Stop running away from yourself. Meet the problem where you are. The problem is within us. You remember the Chinese story of the boy who ran away from home? And in China, the custom was, when a boy ran away from home, he would always go to the village schoolmaster. For the village schoolmaster was supposed to have studied the I Ching, the great book of wisdom. He was supposed to be wise. He was supposed to be wise, and he would answer the problem of the boy. So the boy made it a point to go to the village schoolmaster at all times whenever he was in trouble.